Hi, folks. I screwed up again, but we're on. We're on live. I keep hitting, and I even have this thing. See this note here? It says go live. I have it right in front of me, and I keep forgetting to hit live. Anyway, let me bring my two pals on. My pal Joe, and there's Big Ed.
Hey, Eddie.
What's up, Joseph, Larry? How are you guys?
I'm all right.
Good, good.
How do you want the display? Like this?
3 of them across the track.
That's it.
That's like that?
I got the 8-hole. You got the inside. Go ahead.
Did you race since we spoke last?
No, I didn't. I did not. I didn't race nothing this month because I had to give these horses a break because I raced one horse 3 times in the month of January. So
that's a mortal sin, ain't it, in the thoroughbred business?
Well, a lot of people respect my trotter mentality. They think that, and like I said, if a horse comes back off the track after a race and he eats, he's happy, he's sound, you put him back in, I don't abuse them. No way. It keeps their form. It keeps their ability to perform. And, like I said, if they're happy, you race them.
I'm going to say a couple of things tonight that are going to get you angry. Nothing personal, but I'm going to say a couple of things because I kind of well, we're going to discuss it. It'll probably be a good discussion. And I don't know how Joe feels about it because Joe's basically out of the business. But you're gonna have a lot to say, and don't be afraid to say it. So, but anyway, let me start off with this. The guy called me the other day. He calls me every once in a while. He has a big business. I think he does. What the hell's he do again? I forgot. Cheese. I think he makes cheese. He got some kind of big business. But he used to work for me for years, way back I guess in the 70s and 80s, in the 80s, I think. And he told me 3 or 4 stories, and I can't remember all of them. But this one I'll tell you because it cost him $12,000. I had a horse at that time. At that time, when he was working for me, that's when Charles Slutsky and the New York State Racing Commission asked me if I would do them a favor. That Manny Ukaza, the Hall of Fame jockey, had an accident. I think it was at Santa Anita and broke both his knees. And now he's all healed up and mended, but he can't ride no more. So they asked me if I would teach him how to drive, how to train horses. Because he loved the horse, he wanted to stay in the horse business, but he couldn't ride. So he figures harness racing. So that's the year that he lived with me for that whole year, and I taught him I got him all his licenses and everything, and I did as much as I could with him. And he lived with me for about a year and a half, I think, maybe 2 years. And then he went on his own, and I think he got out of the business. He just wasn't happy with it. But anyway, this particular night, I put Manny on a horse that I trained called Blaze Council. He was in the first race. We were in the first and second race of I entered 2 horses. I entered Blaze Council and Colonial Sir. When they got when they got both of them in the daily double, the first and second race, I gave Manny both horses could win. I gave Manny the sure shot, the one that just couldn't get beat. So I put Manny Ukaza down to drive Blaze Council, and I was in the second race with Colonel Sir, and he couldn't get beaten either. So, and both of them weren't favorites. They were, maybe 5, 6, 7 to 1, something like that. But they couldn't lose. So the kid, Dan Jones, who worked for me, who told me this story, he took his pay and he bet a $200 double, he told me. And the first race, Manny won by open length with Blaze Council. and then all he needed was me to win, which was not a problem. But what happened was I gave Manny my bike, and I used another bike, but I had to change the wheels. I think because they were 26-inch wheels. Colonel Sir was a big horse, and so I put 28-inch wheels on. And I had this kid that worked for me called Brillo. That was his nickname, Brillo. Good kid. And I said, Brillo, put them 28-inch wheels on this bike here. And he did. But Brillo was, anyway, going to the 3/4 pole, I was in front by 4 or 5 lengths, and all of a sudden the wheel starts rubbing up against the frame. And Brillo forgot that he must have been involved in something, and he forgot to tighten. The windup was he forgot to tighten the nut on the axle, and the axle worked his way out, and the wheel the bike collapsed on the wheel. The axle was halfway in the wheel, so the wheel stayed on, and I rubbed it the whole way. And Dan Jones says I got beat a lip at the wire, dragging the wheel the whole length of the stretch. And he said he was going to get back $12,000. So
God.
I felt terrible with the kid, but that was Dan Jones' story. He has a lot of stories, but I can't remember all of them. The other thing I wanted to talk about was last week. And this is why I always get in trouble. I did the same thing with Johnny Platito. I said something that wasn't not true, and it's because these things happened so long ago. I think I remember them one way, but I don't. And then sometimes when I just hear a story, and I hear it from horsemen and everything, I take the side of the horseman because I respect the horsemen that I know. I respect, and I don't bother double checking nothing. I don't bother getting into nothing. If they said it, they must know what they're talking about. But in this case, I found out yesterday through a good friend of mine, Freddie Hudson. Freddie Hudson called me last week or 2 weeks ago, and he said he watched the podcast, and he said there were a few things I said that were not correct. And one of them was when I took the side of the jockey Paco Lopez. That's the kid. You'll remember him, Eddie. At Fox, he hit the horse. Yeah,
hit the horse. Yeah.
Yeah, and I took his side right away, and I said, I said a lot of things that were true, but they weren't true in this instant, and I'll tell you why. I watched the race. After Freddie called me, I watched the race, and it was a 2-year-old filly. She won the race. She did bear out down the stretch, but she's a green 2-year-old filly. She bore out down the stretch. Nobody was in danger. After the race, he's pulling the horse up. He's up against the outside fence. Now, I was told the horse was going to go through the fence. And I thought the horse was like twisted sideways. He's trying to keep her off the outside fence from going through it. And the horse was twisted like a corkscrew. And he kept hitting her on the right side to try to get her to just run away from the whip and go to the left. And that's what I said. And I said the judges should have understood that and this and that. And I took his side. Well, when Freddie called me, I watched the race, and that wasn't the case. After the race, the horse didn't bear out down the stretch. She was green. It's a green 2-year-old filly, but won the race. After the race, the horse is walking, but they're walking right at the outside fence, but straight, just walking. There's an outrider maybe 3 feet ahead of them that could have grabbed the horse if there was any problem. And she was just walking straight and everything else. And this kid, Paco Lopez, he wrapped the 2 shots right in the head with the whip. for absolutely no reason at all. I mean, if you were going to hit her for a reason that makes sense, and a reason that would fix or solve the problem that you were having. This poor filly won the race. She was not doing nothing after the race. And during the race, and I'm sure during the race, I didn't see the whole race. If he would have hit her on the left side, maybe he would have straightened her out. That's usually the remedy. But I was misinformed. I took his side, and he was 100% wrong. And then, from what I understand, this was the 10th time he got grounded for misuse of the whip. And I didn't see the other 9, but if there were anything like this one, it was terrible. And this kid should have got a lot more than, I think he got 10 days and had to go to some kind of bullshit.
Should be barred from the business. Should be out of the business.
Yeah, that was sad.
Especially a young filly.
He's a good jockey, but they say he has a bad temper. He's always fighting with other jockeys.
Shouldn't be in the business.
So what he needs probably, in my way of thinking, is the next time he fights with a jockey, I hope he gets the shit beat out of him, and I hope he gets a real bad beating. And the next time he does something like he did with this little 2-year-old filly, he should get maybe a $10,000 fine and maybe take 6 months off or something like that. So I was wrong in defending him, and I have to be more careful if I'm going to make these announcements. You know, we're not sitting in a coffee shop and we're just bullshitting. There's a lot of people that hear this stuff. Worldwide, and when I make a mistake, I got to be more careful how I say things, and this will lead me into. I wrote notes. I have notes here because of Freddie, and Freddie's listening. He's going to give me marks after this. So now, I had a long talk with Freddie, and here's where you might have something to say about this, Eddie. And if you do, I want to hear it, because I'm still on the fence, but leaning toward Heisa. Okay, now give me a chance. Give me a chance to talk about this. I said from the very beginning that Heisa, somebody had to do something. There was a tremendous amount of horses dying every day. There was a tremendous amount of trainers that were, and drivers in both divisions of racing, harness and thoroughbred, that were using drugs and just a lot of bad stuff. And there were periods of time last year when there were 4 or 5 horses dying every day at different racetracks, and something had to be done. In harness racing, most of the guys that went to jail because of surveillance. They caught them red-handed. In the thoroughbreds, they found a lot of bad tests, positive tests, and they found a lot of things that happened that there was no positive tests. Horses just died, snapped bones, did things. They were, and everybody knows what they were doing. They were using the shockwave machines. They were killing nerves, sending horses to the race. In fact, well, anyway, so they really had no choice. They couldn't do anything, because every week and every month it got worse and worse and worse and worse. And the thoroughbreds, even though they try to protect that game, it was getting very hard to protect. So I came, and when I first found out about Heisa, I came and I looked it up. I took a study. This is the girl, Lisa Loratis, she's the big boss of it. and it was formed. Everybody knows it was formed by the government. And this guy here, Mark, he's the head of
Mr. Clean.
The cleanup, the whole cleanup crew. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Clean. He looks like Mr. Clean.
Yeah, I looked them up and everything, and what I found was, and it was a real quick thing, but after I looked it up for a while, I found out that the ones that I looked up had absolutely no experience in the racehorse business. They were great. Defending people that were using drugs. They were great attorneys. They were great at, they knew what the drugs were and everything else, but none of them were trainers and everything else, or anything else. So what I said was, HISA is needed, but what's not needed is people who they put in charge, and there were about 80 of them that don't have a clue about horse racing and don't have a clue about training horses and what they go through. And that was my biggest complaint. Now, if you're going to start an agency or a group of people to try to clean up the mess, and it is a mess, and it's a mess of gigantic proportion, because if they don't fix it, all of racing is going to be, the harness racing will be done in 2 or 3 years, and thoroughbred racing will follow it. Maybe in Ohio they'll have it, but I don't even know if that's the case. Not Ohio, but well, whatever. Maybe one state will have it. But when I spoke to Freddie, and I told him that was my only concern about HISA, because what they did was they slammed the door on everything. And I understand both sides of that argument. You almost have to slam the door, because you have to you gotta stop it. You have to stop this total abuse that these poor horses are taking. So you almost have to slam the door. And that was the problem I had, because in my opinion, it's not only my opinion, a horse needs a little help. A horse needs a little help after a race. A horse needs a little help recuperating. They just need it. And some of the rules that they come up with in the very beginning, when I checked into this, were just not, they were not good. They were not good rules, and they were gonna really not only hurt the business and the trainers and make things tougher for veterinarians, trainers, but they were going to destroy the horse. They were going to give the horse no help, no chance at all.
They're the ones that are neglecting the horses, not us. By not maintaining them and doing what they have to do, they're neglecting the horses, not the trainers.
So that's exactly what I said when I did this podcast about them. I was corrected last night. I was corrected last night by Freddie Hudson, and now from what I understand, and I looked it up, and it's true. Freddie sent me a whole list of they have 18 horsemen now, and they changed many of the rules, and I have the rules someplace here. I printed out so many things, I don't even know where I put them. But they changed a lot of the rules. They changed the rules where you can inject an ankle closer to a race. They changed a lot of the rules that were a main concern of mine. I have some of them here. They even eliminating some of the suspensions and violations related to working horse within 7 days of an ankle injector. So a lot of the things that me and you, Eddie, we talked about, that's not right.
They didn't change the rules. They did not change the rules. I don't know where he got that from, because I just injected a set of hocks. I can't raise the horse for 7 days, and I can't raise him for 14. When you inject the corticosteroids into the ankle joint, the fedlocks, you still got that 30-day rule. So wherever he got that from, it's a crock.
Wait a minute. Don't be blaming my friend now. because
no, where he got the rule.
And you didn't listen to me. I said eliminating suspensions for violations. I didn't say about racing. You're not going to get a suspension or a fine anymore. But I don't want to go through all of these. I don't want to go through all. But they changed a lot of stuff. They're reclassifying certain banned substances and control medication.
The reason why they changed all that is because all the people that they found with stuff that was against the rules or whatever, it all backfired, and they got millions and millions and millions of dollars of lawsuits, which Naira definitely beat them at their own game. It's still the way it is. It's I don't know about the suspensions, but now one of the top trainers that are on the board now, I don't want to mention his name, but if you look, no, I don't want.
I'll mention his name. He's on the board of directors on this thing too, so you could mention his. I'll mention his name. He got caught injecting a horse within an ankle within the amount of time. So he's gonna, however they handle this, they handle it. All I'm saying is that from me completely dismissing HISA and saying they shouldn't be involved in especially in harness racing. They're starting to change a lot of the rules. And now they have 18 horsemen from all over the country, trainers, jockeys, and breeders that are making them change them rules. You know how I look at it? Here's how I look at it. I look at it when they came in with a close the door, they didn't want to hear nothing attitude. And that's not the case anymore. And they're giving in, and I'm sure that if you or I ever had a chance to speak to them, that we can get a lot more done. And I'm sure a lot more is getting done. Here's how I look at it. Here's how I look at it. Years ago, there was a story that I heard from an old wise Jewish guy, and he told me this story when I was asking him questions about situations like this. And I says, they formed this corporation, they formed this group called HISA. They almost had no choice. And they formed it because in theory, they were going to clean up the whole mess because something had to be done. So they did something, and in theory, it was to clean up the whole mess. And he explained to me the difference between theory and reality. And here's what he said to me. He said to me, he says, there was a young boy that went to his father, and he says to his father, Dad, what's the difference between theory and reality? And the father says, well, the best answer I can give you is, go ask your two sisters if they would sleep with the next door neighbor for $1 million each. So he come back a couple of minutes later, and he says, both of my sisters said that they would definitely sleep with the next door neighbor for $1 million. And he says, well, that's your answer. In theory, we should have $2 million. In reality, your two sisters are prostitutes. So what's going on now, in my opinion, with HISA is they're going through therapy now. And the therapy is the horsemen that know, like you, that have things that are being done that shouldn't be done. Probably in time, they will get done. They will listen, because I think now they realize that they don't know they didn't know in the beginning what they're doing. And I said in the beginning, I said this months ago, they're going to spend millions and millions in lawsuits because the whole racing world knows that this whole crew don't know what they're doing. But that's not the case anymore. And even Mark Ford, who has a big standardbred thing, a lot of standardbred horses he races, he's on their side. I believe John Campbell is on their side with a lot of changes. So, and the results, they're coming up with a lot of results. I think you'll even admit that a lot less horses are dying, a lot less are breaking down, a lot less of everything is happening as they are learning, as they are adjusting some of these rules and regulations. So that's what I have to say.
All right. Now I agree with Heisa 110% on finding the culprits that are using enhancement drugs. Yes, I go all along with that. But as far as all their other rules and regulations, I'm going to tell you something. Belmont Racetrack has more euthanized horses on the training track than they do at the races. That track is totally untrainable. It hurts any horses.
The reason any horses dying or breaking down is related to the track conditions for sure.
Any horses that have soft tissue injuries, they just break down at that track when they breezing or when I see horses galloping, okay, and they just break down. Now,
Eddie.
Well, listen, I called up Heisa. I don't give a fuck if they. Oh, excuse me. I don't care if they know or they don't know. But I formed a complaint about it. Well, finally today, somebody come out from there. I don't know what was the outcome, but they looked over the tracks, the poly track, the pony track. Now, the new tracks that are coming in the new Belmont building, the poly track, the dirt, and the two turf, that's going to open for training in, I think, March or so, just to train, gallop and train and breathe. But in the wintertime, they're going to have horrible. It's going to be horrible because the same synthetic stuff that they use on the pony track, when they harrow it, the chemical they use, I forget the name, what they use, starts with a K. When it comes up to the top and it gets wet, it clumps. And when it clumps, it freezes. So there's so many things that...
Yeah, but what does that have to do with Heisa? What does that have to do with Heisa?
Well, because they're not looking into where all the breakdowns are happening.
I know that they went, when they were asked to go to Park. They went there and they closed the tournament.
Yeah, they closed it and they opened it up one week later.
Do you really need Heisa to know that if you have a horse with a soft tissue injury, both tendons, suspensory, don't go on the back track? That's all. Just don't go on the back track.
There's no track to go to.
Women or put in a complaint or get rid of the horse. It is what it is. You have to work with what
get rid of the horse. You're talking stupid. Get rid of the horse. I mean, what do you mean? All your horses got problems, and you know that.
Did you?
A lot of horses have problems.
You ever get rid of a horse because of a problem?
Did I ever get? Yes, I'm getting rid of one this week.
All right.
So he's got a bow tendon. He's got a bow tendon. And he's not competitive because he can't race.
All I'm saying is that okay. Let's make believe Heisa never came into the picture. It'd be a continuation of the last 3-4 years. Look, I don't like these restrictions neither, right? And I come down hard on them. And I even asked for a meeting. I tried to call her up and said, look, you can't do this. Not only are you making the job of the veterinarian impossible and adding a lot of paperwork, you're making the job of a trainer. Not a trainer has to be the trainer, a bookkeeper, a veterinarian. He's got to be everything. You're making it impossible. But something had to get done. Now,
do you know three regulatory vets quit Belmont?
I was just going to say that they're going to lose vets.
They lost three regulatory vets. They hired 12 veterinarians. 12 that one don't know a horse from a cat to a mouse to a please. They just have people who are incompetent and people who just don't know the fundamentals and the soundness and of a horse. They just.
I agree with you 100%. But they're trying. They're getting more and more people involved
on the expense of the owners. The owners are.
You're 1,000% right. Because I asked Freddie, what about 100, 150 each owner has to pay? He says every state is different. I don't have an answer for you on that. But that's something that you're going to have to look into it. And I'm sure.
They're going up again. They're going up. They want to go increase Finger Lakes, which they raise for bushels of corn. They want to raise there up the same. It's just like Monticello. I mean, come on. You're going to charge an owner. Now they've just boosted up the minimum wage to $16.50. Okay. That's number one. Number two, they're going to try to make it a union. They're going to get unionized workers, grooms, hot walkers. So what's going to happen? Do you know the day rate at Belmont Racetrack now?
125.
Between 100, 130 to 185 a day. Now, okay, so it's getting, because you know how much a shoes? $240 a shoeing. All right.
I heard that. I couldn't believe it.
Okay, so glue-ons, extra Ian, $600. Glue-on shoes. So everything is costly. And, if you got a small stable, that's why you want to maintain your horses, because God forbid, my horse breaks down. I ain't got 4 more coming in the next morning, like the other guys do.
I told Freddie last night, I says that before I was completely against HISA. But then when you think, what's the alternative? And you got to remember that for the last 5, 6, 7 years, I have the studies here. But over 1,000 horses broke down on racetracks, broken all because of drugs and a lot of a few other things. But the main thing is what HISA is trying to fix. Now, in my opinion, they're never going to be able to fix it. The most they could do is be a good watchdog and cut things down and take the advice of some of the people that are coming on. But there has to be a reason why a guy like Mark Ford and John Campbell are aboard now with talking to HISA, and because something just has to be done. Now, until somebody comes up with a third option, another option, what are you going to do? I mean, you couldn't leave it the way it is. And I still agree with everything that you said. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that until you come up with another way to do things.
Well, there's going to be a way, because the way the thoroughbred industry, as you've seen the stuff that I sent you, that there's not going to be too much racing going on, because there's only going to be maybe 4 major tracks in the country, I think. If this goes through at Gulfstream, I mean, there's 75,000 horses in the state of Florida. All those farms, if they get rid of Gulfstream, which is really on the up and up. It's not bull sugar. All the people who have their breeding farm, they're going to stop the breeding in Florida, stop the racing in Gulfstream because real estate is more valuable than the racetrack. And that the people have to move all their stuff belongings to Kentucky. I mean, it's totally because the casinos don't want to more or less support it.
Let me say this. I think just like behind the scenes, when this guy here, see this guy here, this is Larry Kadish. That's my owner.
I know who he is. Yeah,
he offered
to buy Roosevelt. Go ahead. I know
when he was bidding for Roosevelt.
Yeah,
and he says, "I will pay anything. I will pay whatever your top figure is. I will pay anything." And when he bought the largest parcel of land in Old Westbury, right down the street from Roosevelt Raceway,
right on the corner,
a mansion on it. He built a mansion for me on it. He built a barn. He built a track. He built everything, and then he didn't get it. And the reason he didn't get it was because the deal was done before the announcement was even made that it was for sale.
It was like freeholds.
Where Garden owned it. Sonny Werblin got an envelope where he didn't have to work for 100 lifetimes to make it go that way to sell it to developers. And that's the way it is. And the Stronach Group, Frank Stronach owns Gulfstream, Santa Anita, Laurel, and Rosecroft. They're gone. That deal's already made. It's not even, well, maybe it's gone. They're sold, and it's all sold. And that's the shitty part of this business. Nobody cares about the horsemen, about the trainers, about the horses. It's all about the money. And I'm going to tell you something else that's really shitty. This is really, really shitty, and the horsemen are going to pay for it. When all the casinos and all the gambling started to come around, right around 1990, I guess it was, something like that. Okay, they tried to make deals with the rate because they couldn't get into any state. So they made deals with all the racetracks, and they said, let us couple with you. And in turn, you're going to lose some people to us. In turn, we will supplement your purses forever. Okay? So they all made the deal. And now, 15, 20 years later, now everybody, including Stronach, with all his racetracks, puts in all the contracts that he signs and everything else. Everything stays the same except the I want everything decoupled. And when they asked him why, because it's easy to sell a racetrack, it's easy to sell land if it's not coupled to anything.
Right.
So from the very beginning, nothing meant nothing. And from the very beginning, the casinos had no shot at getting in these states where racetracks were unless they coupled with them. And the horsemen allowed it based on a contract. And now that the contracts are over, or they're trying to end these contracts, now the casinos want to get rid of the horses. They hooked up with the owners. The owners realize that a place like the Meadowlands is going to close too. I think Meadowlands is all done. The property is worth a tremendous amount of money, and all them racetracks are gone. The only one that might still be around is where you're at, is Belmont Park, and maybe a couple in
Kentucky.
And basically that's it. And it's all because of the dollar, and like nothing else matters. And poor Freddie, I feel sorry for this guy, Freddie. Freddie has a show. The Harness Racing Alumni Show, and it's on every Thursday. And last Thursday, he had a guy called Eric Hamelback, I think his name was, and he told that whole story of how the racetracks really got screwed. They really got screwed by all of these casinos. And like nobody cares. It's all about the bottom line. Nothing else matters. So I don't know what all these trainers are going to do, what all these drivers or all these jockeys are going to do. The industry is probably just it's gonna be gone. And I asked Freddie last night. I says to Freddie, I says, Freddie, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when this happens? Because Freddie, and I did a whole podcast with Freddie, the amount of times he went in front of to Washington D.C. And almost every day and lobbied for the harness racing, lobbied for the harness racing, and on his own dime. Nobody gave him a quarter for years. Nobody gave him, up until right now, nobody gave him a quarter. And I says, Freddie, I said, I know your wife probably makes a good salary and everything else, but I mean, how do you fight for something you know is going to fail? You tried your best, and nobody, all of these wealthy guys, all of these breeding farms, all of these drivers that making a lot of money, nobody even, no, Joe Rico, from what I understand, who's a good friend and a good guy. And Joe Rico was a guy, I never forget, we were around some affair, and I was really doing bad. I think I might have been living on a park bench. And he come over to me, never said a word, and he put something in my top pocket. And when I looked, it was, I think, $100 or $200, $100 bill or 200. He's a good guy. Joe Rico's the only one supporting Freddie's show. And so I says to him, I says, Freddie, and you guys should watch. It's on Thursday. I don't know how you get it.
You're on Thursday. Huh? You're on Thursday.
No, I know, but it's you can look at it any time. I think even if you
what time is it on?
It's on. He does it live, but then you can get it anytime.
Yeah, I know, but what time does he do it live?
Show and with Freddie Hudson, Trade Martin, and Bob Marks, and they have this guy Eric on, and he tells the story, and it's a sad story, but that it's basically the end of harness racing. So
it's the same all over from the beginning. It's political corruption. That's what it is.
Yeah,
the money talks. They got everything covered.
Right.
So the racetracks and the owners and the breeders, they're secondary. It's politics runs everything, and so unfortunately, it's corrupt.
I asked Freddie. I says to Freddie, because he's a good guy, and as you know, his father was in racing from the 30s and 40s and 50s. His father, Freddie Hudson. I mean, Billy Hudson. He was a good guy, and Freddie, he fights like hell to try to. And I hope something happens for him. But I can't believe in all the years he's been doing this, not one person except Joe Rico ever supports his show. I think Joe Rico sponsors that whole show. I just can't believe nobody helps him. Nobody gives him any money, and he's the reason why they're probably still racing. So anyway, I asked Freddie. I says, Freddie, what are you going to do when all of this ends? And he says, well, I'm on the committee now, and what he tries to do is he's stopping the shipping of horses out of the country for slaughter. And
that's good.
And it is good. It's really good. But here's the other problem. You see, it just seems like there's another side to every story, and on the other side, and that's why sometimes I just want to cover my head, and like I said once when it came to the cancer thing, I can't play God anymore. I just can't. I just got to mind my own business, stay in my lane. I can't be worrying, because what's happening for just like Freddie. We'll take Freddie, for instance. Freddie's going to lobby like crazy to stop these horses from shipping to other countries. Well, that's great. That's great. But here's the other side of that argument. How does Mexico, France, Switzerland, Indonesia, Poland, China, Belgium, Italy, Japan, Spain, and Germany, how do they feed their people? How do all of these poor people in these countries, they live? That's how they live. That's how they live. That's their food. It's very much like, you know what it's like? And I learned this a long time ago. It's like the U.S. government and the government of the countries like in Colombia and Brazil, they have these poppy fields that run for hundreds and hundreds of miles growing out there in the open. Now, don't you think that the United States or any government can burn them poppies right to the ground with drones or with planes? They could drive them. They can get rid of them poppy acres in 5 minutes. You know what?
Gavin Newsom could do it quick.
Yeah, but they don't, because that's the only income that country gets. Without cocaine, without growing these poppies, them countries would starve. They wouldn't be able to feed their people. So the governments allow them to do it. Is it against the law? Yeah. Well, why don't they burn them all down? They could burn them all down, like you said. In one day, they'd all be gone. They don't do it. They could do it. It's right there in the open. And the same thing. You stop the horses from going to the countries that need that horse meat, where it's a delicacy, like in Italy and Spain. You know, it's sad because we don't eat it. We eat cow meat, not horse meat. And there's one or two countries, like I think it's Australia, that they do the same way. They don't eat horse meat.
I never heard about Italy eating horses. I'm shocked.
Yeah. After we get done, Google it, because when I got a little bit involved in this, I start looking things up. I just can't. I have a problem remembering, but Italy is one of them. Italy is probably high on the list of horse meat. And I didn't believe it, and I didn't want it to be true.
I can't believe it's true. I can't believe it.
All right, I'm gonna Google it right now. I'm gonna Google it, and then there's something else I want to say.
Yeah. They got Cavallo Parmesan. They got.
All right. Here we go. Does Italy import horses for horse meat?
For consumption.
For consumption. I'll do it again. Does Italy import horse meat for consumption? Let's see if they answer.
According to Casamia Tours, today Italy imports over 80% of the horse meat it consumes, and in the EU, Italy wins the prize for being the nation that eats the highest amount of equine meat. While eating horse meat is taboo in many countries, there are regions in Italy where it is deeply part of the culinary history and traditions.
Can you hear that?
I heard it. I'm disgusted.
Ha mangiato figlio mio, Maron Davide.
Oh my God. You just ruined my whole heritage.
That's it.
All right. But these are the things. So there's always two arguments to every story. And that's why with Heisa, I disagree with a whole bunch of what they're doing, but at least they're changing their ways. They're changing the rules. And maybe in time, maybe by this time next year, they'll change them enough where harness racing will get involved, because there's a lot of heavyweight guys. When I was told John Campbell wants Heisa, and I hope it's true. I hope I'm not, because that's another one that I was told, and I didn't check it out. I never called John to ask him, so I hope it's true. And Mark Ford, who owns, oh God, he must have 100 horses in training, and he owns a big, tremendous farm.
Training center, yeah.
And they know, them two guys have been around a long time, and they know the same reasons that the three of us know. But there's no other option. There's no other place where we can go. So you almost have to root for them. In the meantime, until they do change, they're hurting a lot of people.
Speaking about food consumption, I got a story. It's not funny, but it's funny. It's I got a mare She's very nervous. So we had a goat in the store with her. Okay? So at Yonkers Raceway, there was these two Portuguese guys. They were brothers. They used to be the maintenance guys. They used to rake up and clean up and all of this stuff. So I never forget, it's Thanksgiving Day, the day before Thanksgiving, and the Portuguese guy says to me, I like the goat. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to eat it. I said, yeah, okay. I thought he was joking around with me. I come Friday morning, the goat's gone. The guy thanked me. Thank you so much. We had it for Thanksgiving. I said, I couldn't believe it. They took the goat and they ate it. It was unbelievable. What am I going to do? The guy, he didn't understand English, and I thought he was joking around, and he ate the poor goat.
All right, let's go. As we're talking, I'm going to go put these comments down. Let's see. Okay, Eric, Larry, any update on having Julie Crone on the show? Julie Crone, let me tell you a story about Julie Crone. Julie, I don't remember the year, but it was the year she announced her retirement. I put together, in fact, I still have it. I should have gave it to you, Eddie. I had a list of 500 of the wealthiest women in the world. Now, you know that women control 51% of the money in the country. So I had a list of 500 self-made women that are the wealthiest in the country. And I put together a little letter, a card. And in the card, I wrote all about the thoroughbred business and how even the Queen of England was involved. And why not take advantage? And the gist of it was, why don't you take advantage of the perks that you created for yourself by being so successful? Have a little fun. And a lot more. And I put really, really nice. And I put it on real good stationery, a card, and I put it in an envelope, and I hand wrote every name and every address. So when the secretary of these wealthy people got it, they wouldn't just throw it away figuring it was junk mail. It come regular postage, handwritten, personal to the owner of the company. So I got a whole, and in that thing was that we were a management firm, and we would manage all their needs. You come up with and you can get involved in a partnership, as a single owner, as part of a syndicate, and you can come in with 100,000, with 200, with 2 million, whatever you want. Here are the options. So, and I also put that the managers of these two, of which we will get 10%. In other words, if we raise 100 million, we would get 10% of that 100 million for managing their empire, their whatever horses they get, whether it be a syndicate, personal, or partnership. And the two people in charge were Larry Rolla and Julie Crone. So I sent all this information to Julie Crone, and she says, I love it. I love it. I want to do it. And if she's listening, I hope she types in and that this is true. Then she calls me up and I says, okay, I'm going to put everything. She says, Larry, she says, I'm pregnant. I got married. I'm pregnant. And it's kind of a tough pregnancy. They want me to stay in bed for the next 3-4 months. So I says, okay. I says, after, we'll wait it out. So she says, thank you very much, and this and that. I waited about 6 months. I didn't hear from her. I called her back. And I says, Julie, are you okay? And she says, not really. It was a tough pregnancy. And she says, but the baby is fine. But I have to, Larry, I'm sorry. I have to devote my time to my child. I says, I understand that. And then I says, well, I have all of this ready. What should I do? I went to Julie. I went to, who's the girl? Linda Rice. I went to Linda Rice. I spoke to Linda Rice, and I told her the whole thing. And she says, I'd love to do it, this and this and this and this. and she put me in charge. And she had some guy, a second trainer was some guy, and she says, from now on, you can talk to him about it. I'm on board 100%. And then I forgot what happened, and I dropped the whole thing because I think I went to California. I think that was the time I was hooked up with Al Leone, and we were going to buy Judy Garland's library. We had it sold for millions to Homebox to do the 26 TV shows that she did. It was going to be a big deal. I was going to make a couple of $1 million.
Her slippers just sold for $54 million.
What's that?
The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, those golden, the red slippers.
The shoes, yeah, the slippers.
From the Wizard of Oz, they sold for $54 million.
Well, this was the 20. She did 26 or 28 TV shows, and she had everybody on there. Sinatra, everybody loved it. Yeah. She was good. So anyway, that's why I ended that whole thing, and I never went back to it, because once I was out in California, I got involved with Lacage and this and that. So, but that was the story about Julie Crone. Okay, so. That's the update, Eric, on Julie Crone. Let's go to the next one. Francis. Hi, Francis. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello, Francis.
Pretty girl, Francis, ain't she? Look at her. That's a nice picture. Can you see Joe?
Very small.
I can't make it bigger. I don't know. I don't want to fool around with her.
She looks good, though.
Yeah, she looks. Here's another one that looks good. You can say that.
Angelique is back.
And yeah. Hello, guys. Hiya.
Hello, Angelique.
She looks good, too.
Larry, this is better than a match on this show.
Yeah. We should start a dating service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my pal Sundance. Hi, Larry, Eddie, and Joe. She did me another favor. There was a death in the family, and I had to leave.
You told us.
I told you about when she came over the house?
Oh, took care of the dog, yeah.
Yeah, to take care of the dog. I just
She came with Butch Cassidy.
Here we go. Here's Francis again. Oh, wow, Larry. Oh, wow, Larry.
All right. Wow.
I tell you, by the looks of that picture, I sure wish I was 40 years younger. But,
send her my number.
Huh?
Send her my number.
Well, Francis, you heard that. So if you want Joe's number, I will send it to you. All you got to do is type it in. Okay. Michael. Hello, Larry, Eddie, and Joe. Hi, Michael.
What's up there, Michael?
Anybody have any questions about anything? Even about wise guys? We just can't talk about killings. But anything else about wise guys, horse racing, training, Eddie's beard. Okay. Hey, Larry, what's the story with the horse picture behind you, and where did you get it? I told that story. That picture. That's
the one you found in the garbage, right?
No, I had it. I bought it, and when I moved to this house, because before I lived in a condo, and there was a perfect room for that. But now I moved to this house and bought all different stuff and everything, and it really didn't fit any place. So I threw it out. And the garbage comes like every Wednesday for cardboard and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So on Monday, I was building a studio downstairs in the basement.
Right.
And that's where we first started, in the studio down there. And I needed a backdrop. And so I put some, curtain, whatever it was. But it looked plain. So I says, that picture. And I had put the picture out in the garbage Tuesday night. And that's when I was finishing up on Tuesday. And I ran outside. They didn't pick the garbage up yet, and I took the picture and I hung it up there. It's a really nice picture.
It is.
It's a nice picture, and it's made out of silk, something silk. The guy, I paid a lot of money for it. I parked my car once and I happened to be parked right by an art studio, and they had this picture in the window, and I went inside, and he said, "It's not a print. It's not. It's some kind of, I don't know what it is." Anyway, I paid a lot of money for it. Okay, what happened here? Hey, Larry, what's the story with the oil? Okay, we did that. Paco is no kid. He's 40 years old. Okay, well, I was not happy with what I saw. It was not necessary. And from what I understand is that he's a kid with very explosive temper, and you know,
not good for the horse business.
Anger management he needs. That's all.
I think that's what he went through. I think Heisa put him through anger.
He needs to walk around Arthur Avenue.
Yeah. Frenchie.
Hello.
Okay. Here's Freddie. Ed has a good point. Heisa only records horses' deaths on races 72 hours after a race, not training. Okay, what's that? Let's dissect this. Eddie has a good point. Heisa records horses' death from races 72 hours after a race, not training. Okay, so his good point is that they don't. You're right. They don't
investigate on the training tracks. They don't train. They get all their euthanizations on at races because it's a public. People watching the races, so right away they break down, and and now they got to make a big to do with it. The same thing happened at parks, man. They had gopher holes the size of unbelievable. Like
I put the turf course up. I put the pitches up.
Yeah, I've seen it, and then they canceled it for that 1 day, 1 week, and then they came back with it, and another horse broke down. So it's the maintenance of the facilities that keep these horses. Now look at Saratoga. You ever see the turf course up there? Terrible. It's terrible. Gulfstream, the worst. Because there's no maintenance.
Here's a question for you, Eddie. How come I never see Eddie in the paddock talking to the jock, and when he wins, I never see him in the winner's circle? Do you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Well, how come
because I was very sick for the past couple of weeks, and I haven't been there in I would say about maybe 2-3 weeks. I go to the track in the morning, but I haven't gone to the races, so I have my second trainer. So he does everything. And so it's not, the horse will run if I'm there or not there. He'll perform the same way. So I don't have to be on taking pictures. All I want is my owners to make money. So that's it.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Freddie Hudson, decoupling. Other states are looking at it. Well, that's I said, Eddie, I listened to your podcast, and that guy was unbelievable, and the way he explained it was very simple. The casinos and gambling had no way of getting into all of these states unless they couple with racetracks. So they conned the racetracks into coupling. And now that they don't need the racetracks no more, and in return they were going to supplement them for the amount of people that they would lose going into their casino. So the agreement was, you're going to lose some people if we build a casino, but we will supplement your purses. And now they want to just renege on the whole thing. I don't know if the contracts are up. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I do know one thing: Stronach. And I learned this from the guy on podcast. Stronach put in all his contracts that the property and the racetrack has nothing to do. I don't want to decouple. Coupling is no more.
Now, Larry, now didn't it years ago when the casinos first started? Now, didn't it start out with the Indians with the casinos, and if they had the track they had to have an operating track to have the casino working. Wasn't that long time ago when it first started?
Yeah,
that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, when the Samoan Indians and I think what was it in not in Pompano, was it?
I think it started in Florida, but I can't talk about it because I don't know. Freddie knows all about that stuff. I don't know about that stuff. All right, Eric, poor harness racing. The day after Beyonce won the Grammy for a country album, a comedian said the only thing more fixed is harness racing. Okay.
No, I think football is.
Casinos make work of Windsor Raceway and Hazel Park. Yeah. Freddie Hudson posted this week's show. I don't know what that means, Freddie. Posted this week's show. Oh, we posted it, so it's up there. So you can, Freddie, how did they get to your show? How do they see your show? Joe asked me, and I don't know how to answer him. What do you go on, Google? So type it in. I'll look for it.
On YouTube, probably, right?
Show is great. I listen every week. Okay, Michael. It is a great show. They got a lot of good guests on there. Pick the pros and ponies. Ed, are you okay? Ed, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. I appreciate you asking.
You know, a lot of people have the flu now. A lot of that's going around.
Yeah, I had that cough, man. I had that RSV, the upper respiratory.
Yeah.
Woo, knocked the sugar out of me, but now I'm back.
You're a little horse.
Little big horse.
Larry Cox, casinos paid owner of racetracks hundreds of thousands of dollars to locate an area. Racetracks could have stopped casinos from starting up. He's right. From what I understand, he's right. I felt sorry when Ortiz punched Paco. I don't know. I didn't know that. Oh, so somebody did beat the shit out of this guy with the bad temper. Did you know that Ortiz punched Paco? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Florida. Yeah.
He fights with everybody. Okay, so he got a beat, but I guess he still didn't learn. But that's good. Okay, Anthony, who do you think buys the poppies? The government. It could be. It could be because them countries everybody would starve to death. It's the only commodity they have. Horse meat meatballs. John Campbell, Jeff. Here you go. John Campbell, Jeff Gural, Linda Toscano, Steve Stewart, Gordon Banks, all working with HISA. Also, other who sat in the meeting, Burke and, oh, wow, all the heavyweights. Some of the heavyweights in harness racing. Wow.
Well, Jeff owns the Meadowlands and the Tioga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, them heavyweights. Hey, Freddie, type in someplace over here where they could watch your show and the name of your show. I said the name of the show already. I forgot the name. That's like my friend. What the hell's the name of the show?
Harness Racing Alumni or something like that?
That's it. Harness Racing Alumni Show. Yeah. It's a good show. They you know, it's only about a half hour, but they cover, and you get it right on your phone. He says he posted it, but I don't know what that means. Okay, Freddie Hudson. Julie Crone is also ISIS supporter. Okay. Anthony, of course, for 10 million. Hey, we got to find out who Anthony A is. She couldn't pick up a phone. Up, Francis. I'm the great McGaff's daughter. What's that mean? I don't know what that means.
Metcalf?
No, not Michael Metcalf. He's an honest guy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm the great
McGrath's daughter.
What's MAGAFFS? What's that mean?
Somebody's name, McGaff.
What's that? What's that mean?
Somebody's name.
No.
McGaff.
I'm the great.
Sounds like an Irish boy.
Tell us who you're the daughter. Tell us who your father was. Okay. Gary D. Thoughts on Wayne Lucas, guys? Well, I heard a lot of stories. I hate to say them now because every time I say something that it's, but I heard that, well, first of all, the one good thing is he's doing things now to really help the thoroughbred business. He's got this thing now where he gets 2,000-3,000 people all invest $1 and buy a horse. At least he's getting people into the business. So that's a good thing. Prior to that, in his younger years, he got away with a lot of stuff. And I heard once that he actually owned part of a lab that was testing blood results. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard a lot of stories when I was in thoroughbred business about D. Wayne Lucas. And he was the one that got, I think, 40 stalls at Delaware Park. And in every one of them stalls, he put every one of them horses in maiden claimers. Just like you talk about, Eddie, that they pay $200,000-300,000 for these horses. And after an amount of time, if they don't think they're going to make it, they just drop them in 10 maiden claimer, 20 maiden claimer, or whatever. And that's what he did. I can't talk too much about him because I heard a lot of stories about him, but I don't know and nothing's been written unlike a couple of these other guys that are the top guys now.
Well, most of his good horses back in the day when he was really tearing up the Belmont Stakes and all the other stuff, derbies, all those horses that he sent to the breeding farm, everything was barren. So figure it out. Mm-hmm. Nothing he bred. That top filly he had, nothing bred.
All right. How come Eddie never goes in the paddock or gets in the picture? He just said because he was sick. He's sick. All right. Here's Francis again. We got everything but a phone number so far, Joe.
I know.
All right, Larry, how did you get out of the oil drum? You know, it's funny. Francis, if you read my book, I'll tell you what, you don't even have to read the book. Go on YouTube. There's a show called
Underbelly.
Yeah, pure. What is it?
Soft white underbelly.
Soft white underbelly. Go to the show Soft White Underbelly, and about a year ago, you have to go all the way down, or maybe you could punch it in, where he interviews me, and it got like 2 million views already, and I tell it within an hour, but I breeze through it, and you could find out how I got out of the.
You got a brown leather jacket on.
Huh?
You got a brown leather jacket on.
Oh, you watched that show?
I saw you on it,
yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't really an oil drum. Now I gotta tell some of the little lies. It was like a oil drum maybe cut in half. It was only about 3 feet high. It wasn't one of them 55-gallon drums, but I put 55-gallon drum. Okay, let's go.
We put a couple of drivers in those.
Arrow denies stiffing horses. Is it true? He compromised races. Alex, I can only tell you that I can only tell you what I did. And what I did, and it wasn't because of me, it was because of Tony Shula, my partner. When he got arrested along with Erico, Khan went to jail. He didn't say a word. And Tony gave up everybody and told it the way it was. And it was in all the newspapers. And it was all the top jockeys at Aqueduct and Belmont and Saratoga and Philadelphia and Pocono and one or two other tracks. And it was in a newspaper. I told of that story. There's so much I left out. I put basically what was in the newspapers and what could be verified. Now, they had good lawyers. They were the leading jockeys in the country. And if they were ever found guilty, that would have probably destroyed thoroughbred racing. So it was almost a gimme that they were going to be found innocent, but they did what they did. And it was in a newspaper. And that's what I put in the book. So naturally, he's going to deny it. They're all going to deny it. Everybody's going to deny it. But it's, but I'll tell you who didn't deny it. And the guy who comes on here all the time with YouTube, our other friend, Anthony. Now, Anthony, and I never knew this at the time, Anthony and his brother Dominic worked for me during them years. Anthony, who was his brother, worked for Jimmy Current, who was in the next barn from me. So them two guys I knew very well, and one worked for me. It was years later when I started this podcast that they got a hold of me and they said, "Do you know that Khan was our uncle?" And I said, I didn't know that. And they said, "Do you know that we talked about it, and they have an audio tape." I can't say too much about that because even though I think we did talk about it, but I think Khan's son wants to make a movie about it. But I don't think it's ever going to happen because he's a pretty wealthy kid. He owns a bunch of car dealerships down south. But, you know, his wishes were that I didn't talk too much about it. But Anthony does have the audio tape, and he talks all about everything that was in the book. And that was true. So, but I'm not at liberty to, not until Anthony gives me the okay. Once he gives me the okay, we could air that audio. But his son says he wants to do a movie, so he asked me to keep it quiet. So that's it. But I could assure you, whatever is in the book is 100% true. Anthony came on this show and said it was 100% true. Everything I said in the book, and I left a whole lot out. Okay, Anthony, I told you, Michael. I told you, Michael. He lived too far away from Juan Ortiz. Goes. I don't know what that means. What's that mean? I told you, Michael. He lives too far away. I don't know what that means. Okay. Oh, here's Freddie. Let's see. Google. Okay, here it is. Google YouTube Harness Racing Alumni Show or Speaker or iHeartRadio. I don't know what any of that means except Google YouTube. I don't know anything about Heart Radio. So that's how you get it. Google YouTube Harness Racing Alumni Show, and you'll get it. It's about 20 minutes, a half hour. He has unbelievable guests on there. I was on there 2 or 3 times, and then I think I got barred.
You got barred for what?
No, I'm only kidding. I didn't get barred. They always on. I say things. I say things that are real, but you know they have to cater to a certain. You know, they had Lasix one time, and I told them what I thought about Lasix, and it was 1,000% true. Everybody knows I'm right. Everybody knows it's true, and I really let loose the whole thing. And not one of them stopped me, but I go off on these rants.
We know that's what makes it good.
Anthony, call Eddie. Well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Call Eddie, what?
I don't know. I think this guy might be Anthony A. We got to find out who he is. I don't know what that means.
Anthony,
hey guys, I'll be back.
Find out if he's a real guy, a good guy, because things he says. Here's the thing. He said, "What the hell does this mean?" I told you, Michael. He lives too far away. Oh, he must be talking to another guy in the chat, I guess. I don't know. Anthony DeCero. Hey, guys, I'll be back next week. Been pretty sick the last few days. We were just talking about you, Anthony.
Drink some of that mead. You'll be all right.
Yeah, drink some of that mead. I know that Eddie didn't buy any yet.
No.
I know you've been sick, Eddie. All right. Jordy. Hi, Anthony. Hope you feel better. Okay, Eric. Larry, did you ever get in any fights with fellow drivers or trainers? Yes. Yeah.
Umberto Rodriguez. The guy that wouldn't let you out. Remember you were locked in, horse choked down?
That was Jim Grundy. I never got
Jim Grundy.
I just called him a scumbag. That's all. After the race,
didn't you have a beef with Georgie Phelan?
No, not Georgie Phelan. I had a beef with Clint Galbert.
Clint Galbert.
Yeah, I had another beef. Yeah, he was in a race. He fell victim. He was in a race with me and a bunch of other guys, and he fell victim of being hopelessly locked in with nowhere to go with the best horse. And after the race, we were in the driver's room in the back by the bathroom washing up. And he's washing up, and he says, "Oh, you guinea pricks!" And he started that. Ooh. And that's tough to let go. So, but it's even. But you have to defend yourself when somebody says something. But they were right in saying it, so you can't really get too crazy.
He got boxed in. It happens once in a while.
Yeah. There were one or two other ones, but I don't want to mention the names because I don't want to mention names.
Did you see that thing I sent you of Ronnie Pierce?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to show you that. In fact, I put it on. I put it on the thing. I send it to my friend through an email. And let me go through there's only a couple more questions. Put that on. Larry, how is your movie coming along? Wow, I just talked about this off the air with Joe. It's coming. I got very good news today, and they said they had real good meetings with 2020. With Fox, and something should be happening soon. And as far as the TV series goes, I'm waiting. I'm waiting on that. It's another bullshit game, that game. Anyway, Eric, to all of you, which was worse, the Super Bowl game or the
horrible.
Horrible. Yeah.
The game was horrible, and the halftime show, forget about it. Disgrace.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Kamala
Harris. I'd rather read a book.
Yeah, all right. Book by her.
Okay, this guy Anthony, who is sending all these things, says you trained for him. Anthony A. You know who he is? He's the guy. He's this guy here. Call Eddie SCHROM. What does that mean? What is that a word?
What is it?
You can't see it.
Shram.
Yeah, what's that mean?
Oh, the fuck! I used to call this guy Shram. Yeah, he's an owner. Yeah, yeah. He had a horse I trained. Oh my God, I forget the name. Yeah, a long time ago.
All right. Well, that's who Anthony is.
Yeah, yeah.
Alex, guys, do all harness tracks have a passing lane on the inside? No. Okay. Now watch this. Watch this now. Let's see if I know how to do this. Okay. Here goes. My path.
At the 5 mainland key, and it looks like Darren, he's just being a handful. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, boy.
Ronnie landing right on his feet there. Now they're
oh, geez, Ron.
Dragged away here. So we have a bit of a situation, and Ronnie holding on. Hopefully they can get this horse under control here. And it looks like they did.
Wow.
Pierce held on.
He is incredible.
He really is.
I mean, let me tell you something. That is a 58-year-old athlete there holding on to a wild horse.
Wow.
And he's sick and he's got the stomach flu. That's a tremendous job by Ron Pierce.
And you know something? He just gets right back in the bike, and he's getting ready to turn and come back out.
I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, think about a guy 58 years old who's been doing close to 40 years, not giving away anything, not letting go of the horse, and then just jumps right back up in the bike. I mean, you just don't see that.
And you know what, too? Ronnie Pierce is brave as they come, but he also helps everybody else in the paddock, because if he lets that horse go, chances are he's going into the paddock, that horse, and running back there and putting everybody else in danger as well. So Ronnie Pierce helping many out and showing how tough he is, holding on there and not letting Mainland Key go through. Now, Mainland Key is getting back onto the racetrack, and
would you believe that horse? That horse was 65-1, number 5, and he rode that horse.
How long ago was that?
I don't really know. I just happened to. I was scrolling down and I seen a racetrack thing, and they had that on, so I sent it to Larry because we always talk about Ronnie. You know, I used to be honest with you. Up in Monticello, when I was up there, his father. He was a great guy. I liked his father. He was a nice guy. When Ronnie was a kid, I used to babysit with my girlfriend with him. I used to babysit him when he was a kid. Yeah, up on his farm, up in Monticello.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
two guys in harness racing that I really believe, him and Billy Parker from Monticello, who probably could have been leading driver at any track he ever went to.
The mountain man.
Wherever he went, yeah. And them two guys, I really believe they'd rather live in a treehouse and hunt for their dinner than go to fancy restaurants and dress in suits and ties.
I was at Billy Parker's house one day after the races on a Sunday, and in his refrigerator had a bowl of squirrels. I ain't kidding.
Yeah.
All clean and gutted and everything.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, Ronnie Pierce, he
good guy, that Billy.
I think he pans for gold. And,
yeah. He's, I don't know, where the hell is he, in Omaha, somewhere? I don't know where the hell he is.
He wrote me a text once. He says that if I need a horse driver for the movie or the TV series, he says he still has his colors and he still fits in them. So I hope it comes to be. But I'm going to get him on a podcast. I got to call him. I still haven't called him, and the reason is because I got a lot going on for the next month and a half, and then after that we'll get down to business. That's why I haven't had Mike on and
Billy O'Donnell
and all of them guys, because I'm going through a lot of stuff right now, and I don't want to make arrangements for somebody to come on and then not being able to show up. So that's it. All right. What else, guys? Anything else? Anything you want to say?
I meant to say last week, it was the 10 years John Cherubino passed away. Remember the Bean?
Yeah, the Bean.
In his car, he had every piece of equipment in his state.
Oh, my God. He had it in his car. He knew everything was.
Oh,
got the 5 mainland key.
What happened?
From the dashboard to the trunk.
Yeah.
You asked for a tongue tie, you pull out 50 things, and he grab you a tongue tie.
Yeah.
Cherubino.
And then as he's putting them all back, he'd say, "You need one of these. You got to have one of these."
He was a great guy. He was a character.
10 years ago he passed?
Yeah, that's what I heard. 10 years already.
Wow.
The Bean.
He got that big, he has that big nursery place in West Islip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. His son still runs it, I think.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of money, that place, they said.
Yeah, yeah.
Causeway Cutie. Is that the horse?
Yeah, that's the name of the horse. Causeway Cutie. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, here's Gordy again. The halftime show looked like it was from North Korea.
True.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was really a bummer. You know what the funny part was? When Kansas City played Buffalo, no, not Buffalo, Tampa. Okay, I mean, I'm just going to tell the story. It's hilarious. It was a 9.5 point spread. Kansas City was favored. 4 seconds to go. Kansas City was on their 4-yard line. Serious. 4 seconds ago, they were up by 11. What's that guy? The quarterback from Kansas City gets the ball. He don't take a knee. He runs in for a safety.
Yeah.
They shave 2 points off, so they lose the game by a half a point. Vegas got crucified.
Yep.
Because they all bet. And that's when I wrote, "You think wrestling's fixed?" This is what was happening. Yeah. It was terrible. But that's it. Anything with public figures in sports, it's tough,
Anybody could be bought.
Yeah.
At some point, there's an amount for everybody.
I'm on sale right now.
I got the guy asked about Cordero. Do you know that probably at least 50% of the guys and all them top guys,
yeah,
they were offered $5,000, a position to stay out of it. They says they would rather take half in cocaine and half in money, or all of it. And that was the biggest problem I had, because 1 or 2 of them didn't want to do it. So I'd rather have the cocaine. Get cocaine. Go get cocaine. So I had to become a drug dealer to make this thing work. But says, well, then do whatever you want to do. We'll key on you. So we're going to do it anyway. Then they wind up just taking the money. But
well, you answered that old question that somebody asked before now.
What's that?
About Angel Cordero, or whatever they said.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, I don't know. I'll put it to you this way: every day, just like this kid that called me, Dan Jones. I get more calls that verify stories that I tell, and I don't even tell the ones that are very hard to believe. I tell stories that are just, they're a little, out of the ordinary, but and people just don't believe it. Who the hell was it that Michael LeChance? He verified that story about the horse I high nerved. What was his name? Theodore Diamond, and that I broke Adios Butler's world record on a New England world record. Now I tell them stories that nobody believes that, but Michael LeChance came on and verified it. He was in the race. So there's a lot of stories I tell, but what I don't want, even when I wrote the book knowing that it was going to go to California. and I called up for 6 months. I called up everybody I knew, everybody that worked for me, and says, "You remember any stories about me? Because everybody knew the trouble I was in." And I got tons and tons of stories. And my friend Alfred, who wrote them songs that I play, his wife Sharman, she knows how to work the computer, and all of these emails and messages that were coming in and phone calls, she would jot them all down, and then we wind up putting them in some kind of order. We had thousands of them. So then I had to start putting it together. And I said, well, we can't put this story in because nobody's going to believe it. They're going to think I'm full of shit. Nobody's going to believe it. So what's in the book is stories that I could very easily verify, or that were in the newspaper, or that you can get court records from, and something like that. So a lot of the good stuff is not even in the book, and a lot of the good stuff some of the stuff I don't talk about, like just I had lunch with 3 movie people the other day. They wanted to do you should have been at this meeting, Joe. They wanted to do a Christian film. They wanted to do a Christian film of something from the Bible or something like that. So because I put all of these people together, I was invited. So they were talking about how to do it and this and that and everything else, and how much money it would cost and this. And when it came to me, and they says, well, what do you think? And I says, look, I can only tell you this. I believe that there is a God. Somebody had to create everything that's happening, everything that happened. I believe it. I says, and as proof, I wouldn't be alive if there wasn't a God. He saved me just about every day of my life.
You don't know how many times, probably.
Yeah.
You don't know how many times.
And so then I says I forget who it was. He says, well, what do you mean? And I says, well, I'll tell you one story why. I'm not going to tell the stories about me because you're not going to believe it, but I'm going to tell you this one because there's a lot of people out there that were at the racetrack that day. There's people out there that are still alive that were there that know of the story. And one of the brothers is still alive and knows of the story. And that happens to be Frank Ingracia, who's married to Jackie Ingracia. So here's the story. Ronnie Ingracia had 4 brothers, 4 or 5 brothers. His father owned Chick's Ranch in Flushing, a riding academy. And when we were in Monticello, right around, I guess it was probably 1980, 79, something like that. Ronnie come to me one day and he said, listen, he says, you got to drive this horse for me tonight. Now the horse was, it was a 4-year-old trotter, and it was named after his father. His father was in a hospital, Booth Memorial Hospital, dying of prostate cancer. They castrated him and everything. It was just a big bloody mess. Now, don't forget, this is 40, 50 years ago. So they don't give him much time to live. So he says, my father checked himself out of the hospital, got in a limousine, and he's on his way here because the horse, they've been trying to win with this horse since he was a 2-year-old. Horse kept making breaks, and they could never get him. They finally got him qualified one day because they allowed 5 seconds because the track was muddy, and he qualified like in 2:15. So they just held them together and made it. But the minute you, so anyway, so he says, my father's on his way here. He said, an angel came on his shoulder last night while he was sleeping and said, your horse is in. He's going to win. He's going to win tomorrow. God told me to tell you this, something like that. So he's on his way here. So I says, you ain't going to put that on me. I says, you got to brothers. Your brothers. And he says, no. Frankie won't drive. Johnny won't drive. Nobody wants to drive. Nobody wants to be, you got to drive. You got to drive. I says, Ronnie, I said, why don't you scratch? I can't scratch the horse. He'll die if he comes here. He wants to see the horse. He loves this horse. It was named after him and everything. He says, all right. So now they bring the horse in the paddock. And I says, let me just take him for a warm-up trip or whatever. And the worst part is he got the rail. He got post 1. For green trotter, post 1, it's like head sense. So anyway, I try to chase him a little bit into the first turn, and ping, as he said, he's hitting the bike. His hock is, they have him tied too far back. His hock is hitting the bar. His wheels are going around a turn. He's sideways. He's hitting the frame with the wheel. And I come back and I says, look, do me a favor. Pull all his shoes off and get me a bigger bike. Get me a big bike. I lowered his head a little bit. I go to score. Okay, now the race comes. I go to score him down. And he ain't too bad. But in the winner's circle is Alan Finkelson, who was a publicity guy for Monticello Raceway, and Ronnie's father, Chicky, in a wheelchair. He's big. He must have weighed 300 pounds, sitting in a wheelchair. Never forget, with a towel draped over him, sitting there. And he's got, Larry, how's my baby? How's my baby? Oh, God, Jesus Christ. So anyway, the race goes off. I win the race. I come back to the winner's circle, and he's sitting there, and I get off. I bring the horse over to him, and they take a picture of him. And I took the picture, and he hugs me, he gives me a kiss, and then he lets go. He died. He died right there.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
God had to have some play in that move there. There was no reason for this horse to stay trotting. There was no,
That's why you drove him. Nobody would have made those changes.
Well, how do you know it was the changes?
Well, it happened. Everything happened for a reason. It was all part of the plan. No one was going to pull his shoes and change the bike.
I told this story, and if they're watching, they'll know because they were at the table.
Yeah, I believe it.
So I says, I know he's there, and I know he's watching. Now, I could tell you a story every day why I know he's watching, but we won't get into that. Some of that can go into the movie,
Yeah.
but they want to make a biblical movie, and that was my thing. And the only other thing I said after that, and if they're watching, I'll just say it, because if they don't raise enough money, don't make it. Don't cheapen that whole situation. If you're gonna make it, make it.
Do it right.
Do it right. And that was it. So that's my thing. Wait, we got a couple of more things here. Let's see. Did we get this one? Let's see. Okay, let's see. Guys, would you ever leave poor Chris Antley? The guys would never leave poor Chris Antley. The guys would never leave. Sundance, what are you talking about? Chris Antley was a good friend of Alan Sewall. This poor kid died. Good jockey. Okay, what's this say? Gary D. Where are the most injuries happened on harness horses? I guess he means where the horses get hurt the most, right? Is that what it? Where are the most injuries on harness horses?
Up front, I guess.
Probably
Knee.
soft tissue up front.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what they did with the breed through the years, because when I first got involved, every horse had it was a mess. But as the game went from, in my opinion anyway, from a sport to a business, the breeders start getting involved, and they start breeding out a lot of these lameness problems and a lot of these conformation problems. And so a lot of these problems were bred out of these horses. And now you seldom see a horse with a bow tendon or because they just bred a lot of that stuff out. But because of the speed and the way they're going so fast now. They always it's tough. So, but you're right. It's probably on the front end. But in my opinion,
Yeah.
I won't get into this, but I'll say this. The primary, in my opinion, the primary lameness is the feet. Start from the feet. Everything that happens after the feet is
secondary.
But everybody thinks it's primary because you don't see all the aggravation in the foot because it's covered by a horny a wall, a hoof wall. So you don't see you don't see the damage that's being done there.
The interior of the foot. Yeah.
That's why I say the soft tissue is more noticeable and it's obvious.
Okay.
Larry, do you know a horse could have carpal tunnel?
No, did I know that? No.
Yeah, they do.
I don't even
Just
know.
like you have carpal tunnel in your wrist, it's up by the check ligament.
But they used to be three-toed.
Huh?
They used to be three-toed.
The two remaining toes on each side. The only one that was left is the middle one. Now they're splint bones.
Right.
I don't know about carpal tunnel. I never heard that one.
Yeah, well, look it up. I had a horse with carpal tunnel, just like you have it in your hands, the stinging sensation.
How'd you find that out?
Because my horse had it. We checked it out on this horse I had years ago, and she was lame. We blocked. And then Dr. Hunt, I think it was, at Belmont found it, and we treated it.
It's a situation behind by the hock by the check ligament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what else is there. I don't know. Okay, so I guess all carpal tunnel has to be
nerves.
A nerve or a tendon that goes through something. Okay.
Across the hock.
Fancy name for check ligament.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's see. We got some more here. Let's see. The guys at the Meadowlands would scream to Chris Antley about doing coke. When he would get off it, they would say, "Come on, we got some more for you." Oh, that's what you meant, Sundance, by that. Yeah, but back in them days, everybody coke was. They didn't realize that it was my poor friend Charles Slutsky and Eddie Block. They did so much that when he come to say goodbye to me, he was in the back of the limousine. He pulled up, and the chauffeur says, "Charles wants to see you. He's in the back. Go to the back." So I went to the back, and he's sitting there with a big oxygen tent. And I says, "What happened to you?" He says, "I come to say goodbye." I said, "What do you mean you come to say goodbye? You're 40 years old." He says, they want to give me a heart transplant. I'm not going through that. My heart is like a heart that's 120 years old. He says, I guess I had too much fun. And that's what the cocaine did. And they killed him and Eddie. And he went back home and he died. And that's what cocaine did. Back then, everybody thought it was just like a party drug. And boy, did Charles abuse it terribly. and that's what happened back then in the 70s. Everybody was hooked on it, and that's why them jockeys, some of them just wouldn't do it. They wouldn't take the 5,000. They says, no, bring me the coke, bring me coke, bring me coke. And sometimes they just wouldn't do it, and I had to leave them. I had to leave them in or key with them if they had the best horse, and I had to work around it. But that's what they wanted. Nobody knew that the damage that stuff could do. Okay, let's see this. Sundance, nothing worse than the mouth of a pathetic sore loser on Valentine's Day. Sundance is moving. She's in the middle of moving. So now Sundance. Oh, Eric said that. Sundance, nothing worse than the mouth of a pathetic sore loser gambler. Happy Valentine's Day. Now I hope Eric is not talking about me. Let's see. Here's Eric. Here's Eric again. Larry, for the most part, I agree with you. However, why would God let a scumbag like you, Hefner, live to be 90? Well, there's a lot of questions. How do you, and there's a lot of things I don't understand, but and the one thing that I don't understand the most, because other things have reasons. Who created all of this? That's the one question that nobody can answer if there wasn't a who created all of this. But I understand, because okay, so you have to live to be 90 years old. Why do tornadoes and hurricanes happen? Why do I for years I could never understand why somebody that killed the mother and the mother and father of a girl, but her little baby lived, and they say thank God. What about your mother and father? These are the things that you don't understand. You can't understand.
You'll understand one day. This is the devil's playground, the earth. It's not God's not controlling things on earth. God will control things soon.
Okay, where are the injuries happening? Most of the guys in the Meadowlands. Okay, here, let's go to this. The guys at the Meadowlands would see, okay, we did that one. I'm losing my place here. Eric, Sundance, nothing worse than a...
We read that one.
Yeah, I hope he's not talking about me. I'm not a pathetic sore loser. I was probably the best loser in the world. That's why people thought I was sick. There were times, and my friends would always remark about that when I would be watching, like on Sunday afternoon, I would have these big parties. Were you ever at one of the parties in my house in Florida when I had the
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yeah, the team with the horns.
Yeah, football parties and
I
stuff.
would sit there. I'd have 40,000 bet on the game, and they could be on the 2-yard line, and all I had to do was win by 1 point. And I'm saying they just kick the field goal so I could win, but no, they're going to try to go in. And if they don't make it, I would just get up and say, "Is there any more coffee left?" You would never know. So I'm really not a sore loser, but
I was the same way. Not to point you. Just another day.
Just another day. Larry, what podcast did you watch? I don't get that. Well, Larry, what podcast did you watch?
I don't know.
Maybe he's talking about maybe Freddie Hudson's thing. What's the name of it again? Let's see. Honest Racing Alumni Show. Just go to Google and punch in Honest Racing Alumni Show. Okay. Sundance, read the whole thing. Read what whole thing? What are you talking about? Larry, for the most part, I agree with you. However, okay, we read that one. Okay, Sundance. The guys would yell at Chris about doing coke after a race. They would say, okay. Okay, here's Freddie. The old saying, no foot, no horse. Right-o, Freddie.
Very true.
Freddie, I tried to get, Freddie came on the show once. And, but he's in a position just like, he's in a funny position because if he comes on, he knows too much. And he's in his position just like John Campbell is, where you just can't come on. It's just something that you can't do. Okay, typo meant 3. I don't know what that means neither. Okay, Sunday became the middle. Okay, now she's talking about. Oh, she's becoming a veterinarian now. Yeah, they become the splint bones. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's what you mean. They're 3. Yeah, a horse. They used to have three hoofs, and then 2 of them just through the centuries they just grew up, and they became the annoying splint bones.
Splint bones.
Very good, Sundance. You know, Sundance, she got an unbelievable memory. She tells me stories and names of things that I did. She remembers what cars I had, what color they were. She remembers everything.
Eric is right. See what Eric just wrote?
What? Where? Larry, the answer is the next life. That's the reward. God bless you. Okay.
That's right. This is just the testing grounds. This is just passing through. The devil has control of the earth.
Okay.
That's the way it is.
Referring to the idiots yelling at Chris Antley. God bless you. Oh, so he wasn't talking about me. Okay. Let's see. Sundance. No, he was talking about the jerks at the Meadowlands who would yell at Chris. Okay. That's enough. I'm starting to get hoarse. I talked a lot tonight. You know, we were on 2
hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Good thing I don't have to pay. What is that, 16 an hour? What's the rate up to now? How much an hour?
$16.50 an hour.
And we keep the tips.
Oh my God!
No tax on tips.
$33.
I'm going to call you when I get up at 4 o'clock.
No, don't call me. No, first of all, I'm up at 4 o'clock. I'm taking a bunch of pills that the first night I took them. I'm taking like 15 pills, and the first time I says, yeah, I'm going to take one at a time. So I just put them in my mouth. I took the whole bunch down. And I got them all down in one shot. And about
you got them all down, all right.
They
all came up 10 minutes later.
I got so sick. It was terrible.
You got to eat, Larry. You got to eat when you take all those pills.
I read each one what I had to do because they tell you take with food, take on an empty stomach, and I separated all of them. And so tonight, just before I did this, I took the worst one, the one that made me the most sick, the one that says you got to take it with a big meal.
Yeah.
I ate a big meal and I took it, and I'm okay. I'm okay. So that's good. Now here's Francis. Respect and best regards, gentlemen. Great to see you. No phone number yet, but hey, Francis, he's a good-looking guy. He lives in Florida. I don't know where you live, Francis, but he lives in Florida. And he has a good business going down there. It's going to be maybe he's a pretty wealthy guy.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I don't know what that. All right. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming on. We're going to do another one next week. Maybe we'll have that guy back on, George the King, Anthony.
I'll see if I can get a trainer or something.
That'll be a 4-hour show.
Yeah, why don't you try? Well, you can't get a trainer because you put them on the spot. You can't. You know, I don't know.
Maybe I'll get a harness guy.
You know what I want? I would really like to get, and I could, but like I said, I'm going through a lot of things.
Get yourself better first, and then worry about everything else.
Because I really want Joe Rico to come on. I really want Billy O'Donnell to come on. I really want Ronnie Pierce to come on. I really want Catello to come on. There's a lot of guys I really want to come on, and that I know will come on. I never asked before. Oh, you know another thing I got to say? I don't know how to do this, but I was told by my friend. They says that you got to tell the people to hit like, because something with an algorithm or something.
There you go with that word, algorithm.
How do you say it?
Algorithms.
Algorithm. Whatever.
You need Victoria on.
If you hit like, something happens with the algorithm where they won't take me off or something like that.
Yeah, you got to get a certain amount of likes for the month or something.
Well, where do you hit like? Well, I don't see
on the thing on the podcast.
I don't see it. Where is it? I don't see it. But anyway, I don't know. Nobody knows. But anyway, if there's any way to hit like and subscribe is for free.
Yeah.
So hit like and subscribe, but you got to hit like is the most important thing, they said. I never say this. Jimmy used to say it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit like, then subscribe, and ring the bell. That's what he used to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's before.
It's on the end. I know when I hit the end,
yeah.
It says hit like, but I don't see it nowhere here. But
no, not on the podcast here. You got to do it, I think, in the beginning or the end. I mean, the end of the show. It has like, comments, or whatever. Let's see. On the bottom. Let me see. Nope.
Oh, thumbs up is the like. I don't even see a thumbs up. I don't know anything about this stuff. But it got to be out there somewhere, because when Jimmy used to say it, we got like 2,000 subscriptions right away. And then Jimmy don't say it no more. I don't have Jimmy's not on, and I don't see it no place. Anyway, don't worry about it. Listen,
somebody just wrote me, my friend. There's a thumbs up right under Larry's name that you had. Right under your name, there's a thumb up.
I don't see it.
I don't see it either, but
I don't see it. Maybe I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know. But anybody that's out there, just hit a thumbs up and hit subscribe and ring the bell. That's what Jimmy used to say. I have no idea what none of that means, but they told me that if you tell everybody to hit like. So if you like it, hit like. If you don't like it, hit like anyway. What's the difference? Okay, now you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play one of my songs. I'm going to play that song that Alfred wrote.
It's getting late.
It's getting late. That's a nice song, ain't it?
It is.
Which song you like better? It's getting late or
Yeah, I like It's Getting Late. You know what song was good too? That one with Larry Mazza.
Larry Mazza. He on his podcast?
No, the one he played on In the Life or something.
He wrote that song. That's
a good song.
That's a good song on his podcast.
Yeah.
That poor guy. I felt so bad for him. I sent him a message.
What happened?
I sent him a message. I says, you must be devastated. He spent so much money and so much time putting his whole life, because he has, there's mob story and there's mob stories. You heard one, you heard them all. Just different guy got killed, but nobody has a mob story like him.
No, but what happened?
What happened was first COVID screwed him up. Same thing. Then the strikes and everything. Same thing is what happened to me.
Right.
He has Terry Winters and some heavyweight guys, and they spent a lot of money putting a lot of stuff together, and they were just about ready to do it, and all of a sudden, Terry Winters, who's one of the biggest producers, he did He did The Sopranos. He did all of them heavyweight shows. The one with Sylvester Stallone.
Right, Tulsa King.
Heavyweight guy. He went with Sammy Gravano. Him and Nicholas Pileggi went with Sammy Gravano and FX, that streaming network FX.
Yeah.
Doing a Sammy Gravano, I think it might be a TV series. I'm not sure.
And they just dropped Larry?
He calls me up. I says, how could you not be devastated? He says, well, because I'm not. He's a nice guy. He says, because I'm really not out of the ballpark yet. They offered Terry Winters a lot of money, and he went there. But we're still talking. They're still doing this. They're still doing that, and they'll get to me eventually. That's sad. That's so sad. And all the time and work and energy they put into this thing, and then he was so happy. Because it was going to happen. Yeah. And then because of Gravano, they all switched over. I guess they got offered a lot of money, and they all switched over. But you know what I heard? I don't think it's going to work. But the Italian American Club, Chris Colombo, Joe Colombo's son,
yeah,
the whole Italian American Club, they're trying to stop it because a lot of what is said is lies, bullshit. And the fact that he turned out to be a drug dealer, killing kids, and he did kill one boy. It wasn't, in the mob, if you kill your own, you kill your own. But he killed an innocent 16-year-old kid. So they're using all of that against them, but it's not going to work because Hollywood is Hollywood, and so they're going to wind up getting away with it.
That's a tough game, boy.
Yeah, and Joe and Larry Mazza got screwed. He's a good guy. He started a whole thing. I had him on here, and he promoted it. I don't know how it's doing because I got so much going on. I don't pay attention. And
the sports
betting thing. And he's really, really, really good at it. I don't want to watch it because I watched it the first time. And then I start getting itchy because I ain't made a sports bet since 1970. And I don't want to get in it. No. But every time I hear my best bet won again, and it's so easy to say, well, just let me bet 2,000 on this game, pick up a quid too. But I won't do it.
But the night he was on your show, the team he touted lost.
Lost?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. All right. Let me see. So we're going to go out with It's Getting Late. Here it is. Eddie left. Eddie left.
Because it's getting late.
Getting late. Okay. He left. Okay.
He didn't say goodbye.
He didn't say goodbye. I should call him. He don't feel good. He's sick. Okay, here we go. Let's see if it plays.
Dump those grudges, ditch those judges. They're just weighing you down. Drop the haters, procrastinators, 'cause one man's smile is just another one's frown. When it's time for the end, ain't no warning, my friend. One day you're here, next stop the pearly gates. So listen close to what I'm saying. Lighten up, it's getting late. Dump collections, self-reflections, they're just covered in dust. Why obsess, worry or stress? Just ask yourself, what's the fuss? When your doctor calls you on a Sunday afternoon, gonna be a blue Monday, you'll be howling at the moon. You know you never can cheat fate. Lighten up, it's getting late. old school, face to face. I dump the users, soul abusers, turn and walk away. Give yourself a kick in the ass, then raise your glass. Let's toast to the past and make the most of today. Keep the faith, rise above, do the things that you love. Find a reason every day to celebrate. So listen close to what I'm saying. Lighten up, it's getting late. Blast, live it full, life goes fast. Carrying around too much dead weight. All the simple things are all that matter. Lighten up, it's getting late. Oh, what the hell? IGL. Oh, lighten up, it's getting late.
Good advice.
All right, La.
Joe, I'll talk to you during the week.
Okay, buddy. Take care of yourself.
Okay. How do I end this now? I got to get rid of Joe, and I got to go to the end closing.